2, 1, we're live.
We start with facilities.
I believe we are, sir.
Mr. Corman.
According to policy 903, public comment, which is limited to 3 minutes, should be directed to the presiding officer rather than the individual board member, district employees, or members of the public. Confidentiality and privacy rights. Comments regarding particular news must be communicated privately to the school board superintendent via email at penrithschoolboard.or psdschoolboard@penrith.org. And up first on our list is Mr. McCoy.
Russ McClellan in Hilltown. I hope the site logic plan tonight includes air conditioning as a minimum for south, but also presents plans moving forward for the elementary school. It's been brought up, it was brought up during COVID, and I recall someone wanted to try to use COVID recovery funds. That was my recollection. There was discussion in that meeting about the importance of improving the air quality during COVID, and that the air conditioning systems would do that with improved air handling and filtering. Also improving building quality because of reducing humidity and filtering air. Why are you holding back? I also understand from previous meetings that the funding is there and that this isn't a tax issue. Year in and year out, air conditioning is presented, there's studies, discussion, and then it dies. No vote, no action. This is an issue of quality of life for your teachers and students. Please do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. No other comments? We'll move on with our presentation from Site Logic.
Sounds good. That's all you need.
You did it right. Good evening. Quick introduction. This is Bob Strickland. He's recently joined our Site Logic team. He is a resident of the, should we say it's Souderton School District?
We still like you.
Part of the family.
Yeah.
This evening should be a brief in comparison to the past facility committee presentations. Our agenda is just simply a quick update on the 2023 active projects. We'll jump into the bid results of the 2024 site work projects that came to bid last week. Wrap that into an overall budget comparison and just do another 2-month look forward. On the active projects side of things, this is a summary of mostly 2023 projects. The salt shed is complete. The first box delivery is the first week of October or so, plus or minus. The school district picks up by buying in bulk over multiple deliveries, a significant savings on the purchase. The site work projects, you have the high school paving and then the improvements at Central Middle School. Both of those were completed prior to the start of school. I included the ADA improvements and the repaving of the west side of the high school campus. The 2023 capital maintenance, which is your guaranteed energy savings component. The kitchen was completed on time in time for school. We are starting some corrective work to existing underground plumbing, I believe on Wednesday night, but it doesn't have any impact to the actual kitchen itself, just the kitchen manager's office. And that'll restore some services to a next door restroom. The Central Middle School classroom flooring replacement, admin replacement, and the second floor restroom flooring that went to epoxy, that was all completed ahead of schedule. The Bedminster Elementary School septic sand mound, which is the owner allowance component, we've completed the recommended repairs in there that were recommended by Frank Environmental. We've noted a unidentified underground flow of water, which we're investigating now, and at the same time hopping over to grass to do the second elementary school because they have the similar sand mounds as part of that owner allowance that was.
Refresh my recollection on the Central Middle School because I was over there during the open house or the back to school. and I saw the classroom flooring. And was it that it was wearing unevenly, or there was something odd about that?
We had carpet in the entire second floor, and it was 20-year-old carpet. It was well past its useful life
Okay.
and difficult to clean. Going to VCT solid surface, easier to disinfect and maintain.
Okay.
It also looks cooler.
It looks neater.
Sorry. And then, as I said, the grass is the sand now. On the diesel tank, that is fully functional now,
Oh, right.
and the temporary tank is gone. The on the capital maintenance for 2024, we're procuring the kitchen and food service equipment. We're going to still need off-site hot meals. As a reminder, this was all discussed prior. So the plan is to still the district to utilize Central Middle School, but this won't be as involved as South Middle School, where we had serving lines out in the cafeteria. We'll do a temporary wall within the side. Just the hot meal prep will be isolated off. And then the Guth fuel oil tank, we're timing it for late spring, right after the heating season is over. So when the fuel oil is done, we'll get in there. And the operations department is coordinating the environmental removal of the existing tank. And then cool pictures, the South Middle School's in the top left, the flooring at Central Middle School, a typical classroom. The operations garage is tracking as we discussed last month for the late November substantial completion. You actually start seeing curb and gutter and asphalt in the next couple of weeks ahead of the winter season. And this is a view of the salt shed in the lower right, looking from in, looking northward out. It is huge. But be full of salt, you won't be able to do it again. The 2024 capital maintenance. So as a reminder, this is the site work project. This is your final phase of your scope that was approved by East Rock Hill Township, I believe in 2020. As a reminder, the shaded areas, it's essentially the mill and overlay of your parking spaces, a complete removal for anybody that snuck by the high school, middle school campus over the summer of the travel lanes. So you'll see that go down to stone. Some select areas of just sealant, and so that will be up at the stadium and down in the front lot of the district support center. And then somewhere it's just a wholesale replacement that is everywhere and back behind the district support center that wasn't done as part of the bus expansion, and then continuing down through your drive aisles. This work is summer, and it went to bid last week. Also included in here is the replacement of the district wayfinding signage throughout the high school, middle school campus. So the bid results from last week were simply, we had 2 bid packages, and the apparent low bidder for the site work, which would be any of the concrete and the asphalt, was Barker & Barker at $1,584,000. And the apparent low bidder on this wayfinding signage was Fast Signs at $76,800. We had 6 total bidders respond last Thursday for package number 1, but we only had 1 on the signage side, and that was the Fast Signs on the wayfinding signage. We summarized that in the previously approved soft cost into a total of $2,220,600. That's just shy of $5 million under what we forecasted in May.
So that, you did, so this was 7 million was what you predicted?
Is what we predicted. If you might recall, last August, we had the significant cost escalation. And the market strategies that we applied this particular month, particularly as we get into some of these other line items momentarily, increased our bid participation. Last October, we only had 1 responding bidder. We also pulled out the asphalt escalator that was not in last October. So the numbers here are based upon today's asphalt prices as published by PennDOT. They get updated the first of every month, 12 months of the year. This $402,000 recommended allowance outside of the contract, you guys hold the money, you guys just determine when to award it. It's based off of the PennDOT calculation, for which the contractor will submit next summer at the time of placement, which mostly likely be June or July. This 402 that we calculated here is off of the highest price index over the last 3 years. So we're recommending just whole money equal to the highest of the last 3 years. I think that was $790. Today it's $625. This past summer, it was sub 600, which I think 572, if I correct. Don't quote me on this past summer, but it was lower than it is today. So we think we're very conservative in that 402, and that's again money outside the contract on the two. That increased a lot of bidding interest, significant amount of bid interest. The risk on that price was shared between the school district and that. The other strategy we applied was the third-party testing and inspection. The challenges that the district had experienced this past couple months, particularly in May. By bringing that in as recommended by Mr. Harper, we're going to go out to bid and propose to bring it in under SiteLogic Consulting Engineers. And so if there's any challenges, SiteLogic can intervene and deal with some of those legal issues a lot quicker than particularly the school district, and still keep projects moving forward. So between those, we got 6 bidders, and it is significantly less, as in it's comparable to what we were showing, I believe, prior to the escalation increase last May, so almost 15 months ago.
So the bottom line is we are saving 4.5. Sean, what was in the budget for 2024 when we did?
Yeah, when we originally had the budget, we used the higher numbers, so.
So we have 4.5 million freed up from that?
Yes.
Is that- I thought the numbers were off. I thought that was,
Yeah.
I mean, I know the cost would
certainly
come
looks that
down, but I mean, there must have been a major error in estimating this to the first place.
I know we're not used to this.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's
We're
good.
happy that it goes the right way.
So the 2,020,000 is what you have secured today. We'll have something in October or November for you on the third party. There's no rush on that particular item. This is your owner allowance or contingency. We're recommending a 10% contingency. Historically, the district hasn't awarded or authorized the administration to have funds to take care of issues on the fly. We're not asking for that tonight, but we're recommending, at least from a budgetary perspective, the money be allocated to the side. We know that the district's going to have to go for PennDOT right-of-ways. And going to the previous slide, the school district's property actually goes into 5th Street by the whole curb lane. And so we have to go in for 3 different PennDOT right-of-way permits. And that goes back to the 2003 expansion with those and things, and that's why it all of a sudden narrows as you approach the Percy Borough line.
But is that like because you know how there's only one way, the goal is to have those openings there so that it'll be smooth in the parking lot, or are we not doing that? Is that just the paving?
This is just paving. These are existing.
So it's not an entrance, we're not getting.
We're not creating new entrances.
No.
You're repaving and maintaining your existing
So
entrances.
we're still gonna have the parking lot thing? Okay, we don't, do we have an idea, like just, I know just bringing that up again, I know it's like the new of the school year, but have we like discussed any other options, like, I know this is just paving, but I don't know if this is something that, I know it's like it's a tough one, it's hard to figure out.
So there is a traffic study required as part of this, and that might help us alter traffic signal timing to alleviate some of the problems we have.
Okay,
We are looking into those options.
We've been looking into the traffic, I think, for quite a number of years.
We're at the point now where we need to do the study, once this is done, or somewhere in between that point, so that we could propose solutions and see what our options are based on that traffic study. So this is a good point. Before it was, do we pay for the study and have to do it again? We're at the point where we only have to do it one more time.
Do we need a study to change the traffic light time?
Yes.
That's not what I was told. I forget.
It's the township.
Yeah, everybody's telling, the Christmas problem, PennDOT and
We're,
East Rock Hill.
nevertheless, we're required to do
Is
the
it
traffic
our
study.
I mean, everyone knows that that would just benefit the students. I mean, they're releasing kids early from class so they can run to their cars to get out. And the bus, the light sits for a minute and time it. waiting for nobody to go by. And no one wants to jump in and fix this problem. And I think we're just pushing.
May I share?
It's part of our permit. Yeah.
May I share the idea? So the school district's traffic engineer through SiteLogic is the same traffic engineer as East Rock Hill Township, who's the same traffic engineer as the Percy Borough. So we've had these conversations. The leading suggestion, recommendation from that township engineer is that it is the no turn on red during certain times leaving campus. And that PennDOT with those crosswalks will require the traffic study, both of that particular traffic light, but also the one at Blooming Glen Road and North Fifth Street. Along with that, PennDOT historically has given a lot of resistance and or required additional studies when there's a crosswalk involved in front of a school on a no turn on red. They're recommending the path of least resistance might be to, instead of looking to get rid of the no turn on red or modify the crosswalks or the timing, but rather convert that no turn on red as you're leaving campus and you're about to turn right towards town to a right turn signal, which would be coincide with the left turn signal on Fifth Street, and then also have sensors. As part of this project, the sensors that are in the exit lanes of campus, so as you're trying to get on the Fifth Street, those sensors have to be removed and replaced as part of the mill and overlay project on your property. So we're already checking 2 boxes already just by the nature of this project. If the district does not pursue lot number 2, and that lot 2 for the benefit of everybody is the big massive parking lot expansion up on the hill on the west side of the high school campus. If the lot 2 is not pursued, you're not adding any more parking spaces, meaning theoretically you have completed adding your parking spaces for the
I
campus.
thought we dropped that plan.
We did.
It's still in the permit, so we just.
Oh, it's in the
need to
permit,
make a
it was
decision.
It's approved, we
funding
just-
for it. We're not gonna do that over.
It's on the back.
Correct. And since you're theoretically not adding more parking spaces, you now are eligible, we believe you're eligible to perform that required traffic study. That if we can get that ahead of time before the summer instead of after the summer, we can get that to weigh in on the necessary information for the traffic signal modifications.
So who approves making the traffic signal timing change for a certain period of time? Forget the right turn stuff, don't touch that. Who do we need to get involved to just change that timing? Because you can sit out there and watch it for a minute, maybe 2 cars go by, just during that time period. But these kids, they're just backed up, you can barely, they fight to get out of their spots because it's so backed up.
So that's gonna be PennDOT and East Rock Hill Township that both have to agree. But since PennDOT would be the only one that doesn't have the same engineer, because they have their own engineers, we convince PennDOT, and most likely we convince the local engineers. And then
Are we trying to do that, or are we just waiting for this traffic study?
we're right now pursuing the advanced traffic study,
Which is
That way-
required, right?
which is
Because-
required,
or
Even if you change the timing of it?
even if you change the timing, because you have to submit that to PennDOT.
That's fine, if we need to do it, then
And at that point, we're pursuing the traffic signal modification to turn to a right turn signal and drop the no turn on red. If you might recall, there's also no crosswalk on the right turn signal as it is today, as you're leaving campus, so we think that's also been helpful. We can certainly ask about doing a temporary traffic, timing as part of that in advance. But the process with PennDOT, we've been told it will take 6 months. And we just initiated that this month.
Ron is called the government, and it's
Well, I
fine.
understand. We haven't been pushing too hard here.
No.
But I think now with what we've got going on, the pressure's on.
I think everyone agrees that the timing could be changed, right? Is there anyone-
Without a doubt.
I mean, I've seen it, there's no traffic that time, it's not impacted. So if we need to do the study, let's get it done. When will we have that?
Six
It
months.
takes 6 months.
6 months.
That's, the PennDOT review is 6 months.
The review?
The study and getting them scheduled, we were told it will take 4 weeks.
Oh,
7 months.
keep us posted.
We'll do. So this is the bid results. There is one bid alternate that we solicited during the bid process. The board would need to approve or reject it. We're recommending to reject it. It was simply a credit for striping the track lanes on the asphalt, right behind North Middle School, and then also in the drive lanes. For $1,500, we're saying keep it, you can always pull it out later. This will be added to the prime contracts anyways, as a breakout deduct alter anyways, so there's no reason to rush and take this now.
Do we have, does that have to come to a vote, or you just gonna decide here?
When you make the award of the prime contracts, the price will not include the $1,500 taken.
We excluded from the start.
Correct. Mr. Wertz, this is where you were asking about comparison to the budget. The school district has carried $11,500,000 for the 2024 capital maintenance program. The top two are what you have secured so far, so this would be the amendment number 9 for Grass Elementary School, Guth Elementary fuel oil, and then the South Middle School parapet that the district had awarded in June. Then the second line item is what we just reviewed. We just went to bid, including all of those allowances and holds that aren't part of the actual awards, but they're holding as part of the budget per se. And that totals $6.1 million, a little bit over. The next 6 items are additional items the district has identified in the last 2 to 3 months of potential needs. Those are just ranges of low to high, similar to what we've done and presented in the past. You guys are already aware of the environmental responsibilities related to the Guth Elementary fuel oil tank. The new food service director has requested some pricing on a tilt skillet. That is consistent with what was just installed in South Middle School. That is an actual cost that was recently given to the administration for consideration. The extended cameras at the bollards and replace block heaters, that's at the district support center. During the 2022 project, when we expanded in the bus, there was no block heaters included in that project. There's also some potential, I wouldn't say coverage issues, security-wise, in that up on the hill. And this is to extend power and security there. There's also replace all the block heaters. That's what's quantity is driving that budgetary range. It's 50 block heaters and 75 pipe bollards instead of the guardrails. The pipe bollards allow bus staff to walk between instead of climbing over, or someone try to climb over. I would too. Or progressing over to either end. So that's what's driving those budgetary sums. We've reduced the quantity, reduced the budget.
So that was in the budget for this year or not? This is new?
These are not in the budget this year at the present time.
How many block heaters do you need?
There's 50 right now,
And they're all bad?
including
So
existing.
There are metal post that comes out of the concrete, and part of the work that was supposed to happen this summer was replace that concrete. When we looked at these bus block heater towers, you could push it over with your hand.
No.
They're a safety issue, so instead of doing that work, we got a credit, and we're going to do it the right way.
As we should.
What is a block heater? Is that the heat that?
So it
Heats
keeps
the
the
blocks,
engine
chickens.
warm, so it can start
So
when it's really
it
cold.
comes out of the ground?
It's a basic electrical cord you plug in.
Okay. And the bollards are that?
Right now, they have guardrails, and the bus drivers, we've had some accidents, trip and falls, and we certainly don't need to have another bus driver out. And it's snow removal issues, trying to clear snow in that area. This solves a lot of problems by doing it the right way.
The fourth line item relating to grass and the perimeter curbing, we were asked to take a look at the little strips of grass between fencing and the curbs. It's a maintenance issue. And so that's where we're looking at. It may be something the school district takes on or not, self-performance, but it's just a chunk of money for that. The traffic signal modification at the high school main entrance, this was our ballpark estimate off of conceptual, temporary timing, etc. This is just an initial plug. And then the building automation system improvements that we're holding just as a budget. Presently, between Mr. Harper and SiteLogic, we're looking at other alternatives, procurement methods, in order to represent this project to the committee at a later date.
Is that the Johnson Controls? So that So we're under budget?
Even with all of these added to it, you still are anywhere from 3.623 to 3.938 under budget.
A win.
What are you, gonna do with that
We'll find somewhere to
money? I
spend it.
know, we will. It opens up the discussion on our other priorities, which we talked about in May or something.
Doesn't even touch half of them.
Well, it's a start. I mean, it's certainly, we talked about, the auditorium for South.
Oh, that's
And
about a
then
fifth
air
of it.
conditioning, and we talked about 2 per year or something, I don't even remember what we talked about. But is that something that could move, I mean, it would get started this year, obviously, but, is there anything else that's a priority that isn't?
Well, we have the whole 2025 priority list that we,
Would get pushed up.
things that we've been pushing back because the prices went so high. So actually, Andy's working on a whole new, list of projects and putting that together. And
Could we pull any up, or is that all stuff that's summer and things that?
I think that, you could possibly pull some up if they were ready, for 2024.
Which is,
If you want, but, or you can, you can wait and
you can
do them later, but I think that we're getting pretty close to the end of that first master list that SiteLogic did, and they are working on a revised list, and with real costs about what some of those major projects would cost.
have any of those changed like this one, or is it 60%
Those probably
reduction?
have.
That would be really good.
I doubt that.
I know that,
Yeah.
but still.
But we're, in the future, he'll bring that. I mean, we're just not there yet.
Can we, I know we talked about doing an idea with the air conditioning for 2 per year. Obviously, we don't have funds right now to do everything at once. Is that something that could be worked into the next meeting somehow, or how that would work out?
Well, I think it comes back to the entire picture of the entire district and what doing air conditioning really means for a building that has 25 or 30-year-old ventilation system in it already, and to add brand new system to that, the structure that's there now isn't gonna handle that. It's all gonna need replaced, and I think that's what Andy's trying to develop,
That's
is what's the true cost to touching a 25-year-old system to add something like that to it? Is it really just the cost of air conditioning, which he's shown us in the past, which is $30 to $40 million, or what's the real cost when you have to touch all that? Because you're not gonna go in and add air conditioning to a 30-year-old system.
No.
It's
No.
just,
Takes
it's
electric.
just, it's not gonna work.
Takes
But that
power.
makes the VRF more feasible, because you don't have to do that. And I know there's disadvantage to that. That is a lower cost option to start with. Now you're saying air conditioning is gonna require new ductwork, new support, then it's gonna be even more expensive. So it brings that kind of more into play, even though it's a maintenance.
I think what Mr. Roberts trying to say, without specifically calling out one option or the other, some of those options do have consequential requirements
Electrical,
architecturally.
yeah, there's a whole, I understand that.
VRF specifically, and I'm
Why don't
trying
we
to
get
stay
into that
neutral
today?
between all 4 options here. The VRF, as an example of what Mr. Roberts referring to, requires for code containment, and 2 of the elementary schools that we've been taking a deep dive on, in comparison of all 4, don't have ceiling heights and particularly fire ratings that would be required to be upgraded in order to support that. Whereas other options, when you're in a strictly mechanical remove and replace, you aren't triggering all those other architectural improvements.
May make that better.
But
we
if
don't
the
know
district
it.
wanted to go after some more of those other architectural improvements, then things like VRF are, comparable, because you're making the commitment regardless. And that's, I think, where he's looking at
So
that
we're
total
working,
cost.
that's,
Yeah, we're looking at a long-term plan.
Right.
We've got to have that, and we want to make sure we know what the costs are before we announce it. And we want to make sure we want to have it prepared for when the new superintendent comes on board. We think he's got to be part of the process. He needs to understand the complexity of the infrastructure issue for each one of the schools.
So when would we be able to see something?
Hopefully November.
I get it, I understand.
I know you do.
And it's not easy, but I mean, it should be in our long-term plan.
It's easier when you build it from scratch, Ron, as you know.
So looking at the next 2 months, so for this month's board meeting, looking to accept both bid packages, bid package 1 and bid package 2, then subsequently make the awards to Barker and Barker and Fast Signs. That would round out the site work package, including those contracts. Then in October, we'll be back and talking about third-party testing and inspections. We should have change orders at that point. Tried to back off on change orders today, mostly because I'm on baby watch and didn't want to sign myself up for too much tonight. And then we hope to have this will be a revised Guaranteed Energy Savings Amendment number 10, but this one focuses on the District Support Center because that's the next in the queue. If any of those slides would simply be into November, it also would coincide with the larger plan targeting for November as presented. And that would obviously kick to the October 23rd board meeting. That concludes tonight. Any questions?
Sounds good.
Thank you very much, appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Moving on to obsolete items. Mr. Dollar?
Yes, sir. We have Siler Elementary School, pieces of equipment there, a laptop cabinet, a couple of TVs, a TV cart, and some student desks that are all in very poor condition, and all these items will need to be recycled and scrapped. West Rock Hill, we have a number of outdated textbooks that are no longer being used for RELA and social studies. Those textbooks will be donated. We've tried to sell them, but they don't get purchased, those textbooks that are that old. South Middle School, 2 very old table tennis tables that are in very poor condition and just need to be trashed based on their condition, no longer used. And then over at South Middle School, 1 large metal rolling cart that is no longer used in the wellness department. It's in fair condition, and we're going to scrap that as well. That's it this month for obsolete stuff.
Any questions for Mr. Dollar?
It's all good.
Hearing none, our next Facilities Committee meeting is scheduled for October 10th, 2023.
Sounds good.
Mr.
Thank you,
Rice,
sir.
it's in your hands.
All right, moving on to finance. We got public comment. Anybody signed up for public comment? Would you mind checking Mr. Corbett?
No, sir.
Thank you. Moving right along. Review of contracts. Mr. Daubert, please.
Okay. We have a few contracts this month. The first one is the annual contract with the Bucks County Intermediate Unit to send out the annual required homestead farmstead notices. They have to go out to every property each year that's not already a part of the homestead farmstead program. It's required by the state law to send those out. So the IU does a program for all the districts in the county where they pull us all together and are able to get a lower price to get those documents printed and mailed to all the homeowners. So we would like to continue in that process with the IU. And there's a per parcel fee, a postage fee, and then an IU coordination fee, which makes up to 0.886 cents per 88.6 cents per document. So we're getting those notices out for less than $1 a piece.
That's awesome.
Okay. The next one is Transbridge Lines. This is a transportation contract for a trip to New York City for, I believe it's for the Coral trip for Penridge North Middle School. And the cost associated with that is $1,687.60, and that is parent paid.
What was that in parent paid?
That means that the funds are not coming from the school district, and it's coming from the parents. The parents are paying for the trip. Students, parents are paying for the trip. The next one is a settlement agreement for a student identified as 2024-03.
We can't ask specific questions about the settlement agreement, correct?
We cannot talk about the student.
Correct.
Do we have other ones that go to this Bancroft, or is this the only one as of now?
I'm not sure about that, whether or not we have any students there. I can find out.
Maybe it'd be helpful just for the public to hear why we do this too, I mean, why it comes into play. Because it was raised in an email as to, you know, it's a lot of money to spend on one student, but we're required to provide a free education and regardless of that student's needs. But what, can you explain what goes into that whole process, just from a?
I don't know the particular needs of the individual
Yeah,
student.
I'm saying in general.
In general, it's just that the student's needs can't be met based on the services we provide in the district itself. So at that point, that's when Mrs. Summers and the Pupil Services Office will seek out different institutions that have a service that can help to meet the needs of that student.
So is parent directed as to what placement they want, or is it a combination of what the school feels is able to be serviced?
It could be either way. It could be parent, it could be the school, or a combination of. Generally, it's a combination of when you're coming to a settlement agreement, that you work with the parent to identify a school that would work for the student. Generally, we're saying, visit these 3 schools that we know that can meet the needs of your child, and then go from there.
And this one goes to the child reaches age 21, right?
Correct.
And I just saw we got an email that it's going to 22 now, I guess, right?
That is new law that's coming. Well, it was once, they're renewing it, that 22 can those students who are 22 of age can come back for your additional year of services.
Until their birthday.
Till their birthday. Great. Thank you.
Until their 22nd birthday.
Mandated by the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, we get no reimbursement.
And the reason that what's mandated is because we get funds from Pennsylvania Department of Education, I guess, or even the, right?
Correct.
So if we take the funds, then this is part of the obligation or
That's part of it,
responsibility.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, also, isn't it true that if we were forced to do it ourselves, it would cost even more? If we,
Oh, absolutely.
so it's really,
There is a
it's
benefit
something
to
that's
that.
mandated, we have to do it, so this is the least costly way.
Correct.
That's the only way to look at it.
Right.
In one pocket, out the other.
I didn't have any questions.
Next one, this is a lease agreement for 60 months for our refresh upgrade for our Cisco switches for the network, and along with licensing for those. So you got the switches, the software, and the licensing for all the switches throughout the district, which is how many, roughly? 160 switches. So it's a 60-month lease. Total cost is $807,996.
It's a market.
What's
Bet you
the
not a
thousand
bit.
per, was it 160 per year, or?
Yeah, it's
Per year,
rough-
right, 7, 8 years, well, 5 years.
per year. It's $169,000.
So it's a 1,000 per switch, and that's what does that cover?
That's the actual switch, the hardware, so it's like the SFPs that go into it, all the cabling that goes into it, the
Service.
licensing. I'm
Is it
sorry.
service, who services it?
It's a-
It's under like agreement then, so it's under
Everything.
warranty, yeah, correct,
Okay,
correct.
I have no idea. That's good. It's amazing how much we spend for infrastructure.
Yeah.
Technology.
Obviously, it's critical,
Yeah.
if it isn't, as long as it's reliable, you seem to have a pretty good reliability.
We do,
Cisco's one of the best, if not.
Refresh, since
Correct.
you and I have been here, right?
correct.
Yeah.
And this is also funded by E-rate,
Yep.
so half of,
Thank you for sharing
so
that.
yeah, so this is actually our portion, our burden. There's another 514,000 or 541,000 that's coming from E-rate, which is, federal funding through the FCC basically. So,
Is that
so
ongoing?
the whole project is 1.3 million, but then we get 541,000 left.
But that's ongoing, that's not
That's-
something that's gonna that's not part of it.
So the whole package is 1.3, just call it. Our budget for E-rate was a little over $1 million. So we get 541,000, or 50% district.
The only question is, does that continue, is that,
We'll get the 500,000 once, and then the balance, the 800,000,
Correct.
we'll pay over a 5-year lease, so we don't have to put all the money up front.
okay.
Correct.
But then we'll get the whole 500 up front to pay.
That goes right to
And
the
you spread the
vendor.
payments.
That,
So
that'll-
my question is that a
Then we-
once and done thing, or is this an ongoing thing that we could use later?
oh, E-rate?
Yeah,
So that $1 million, and it's based on the number of, like, there's a calculation, and I'm sorry, I forget what it is per student. So we have like a budget for it, and I believe it was a 3-year budget, so we kind of spent all on this project here. So, but then hopefully they re-up it.
yeah, that's my question.
Hopefully.
Sorry, I didn't know you.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, I
yeah,
didn't quite
sure.
get you either, so,
Right, sorry.
yeah.
Okay. The last contract is a fun one, Jumping Jubilee. This is Reynolds for a South Middle School program, $1,485, and that's student paid. So, and that's it for contracts.
Perfect.
The next thing we have is our timekeeper software presentation, which Mrs. Miller's gonna do. We are at end of life for our current timekeeping system, which is Chronos. It goes end of life next year, so we have to come up with a replacement for that system.
So they're discontinuing.
Yes, the version we're on is, they're discontinuing it, and we have to,
When did we buy it?
when did we,
So we've been with Kronos since 2013, at least 2013, and they're just going end of life for this platform.
They're also
Like when I
provided.
started 2012.
Oh, yeah. They're also proprietary, and they're also not cheap. So just to give you just a little bit of a background here, because it does come with a, hefty-ish price tag, so I want you to understand what's happening here. We currently use, it's called UKG, or Kronos Workforce Central, and as Sean just said, it's going end of life at the end of 2025. So what that software does, it's our timekeeper software. So when people who are hourly, they swipe in, they swipe out, it goes through Kronos. All accruals, so requests for time off, all goes through Kronos as well. So it's the source for all accruals. We have 15 clocks throughout the district for people to swipe in and out of. And then there's a manual integration between Kronos and our HR business system. So right now it's kind of manual. So HR
So that's the
has
paper
to.
part?
So it's not really the paper, there is some paper part, you're right. So, but when I say the integration between the two, we have to do an export and then we have to turn around and do an import. So there's nothing quite automated there. And we were told that it was gonna go end of life December of 2025. So I went to Sean and I said, honestly, I think we need money. No, well, of course I said that. But, let's start looking at this sooner than later because I really think the market's gonna be a little flooded if so many, customers have to come off of Kronos at the end of 2025. So we put together an evaluation team, and the software is really shared between the HR department and the business office, and then the tech team kind of puts it all together. So we put a little evaluation team together. I think there were 10 people on it. Honestly, we had, it was very well represented. And we said that our goal to be live would be July of 2024. So again, just to kind of beat the rush of everybody trying to get off of it. I looked into a couple different products, and we came up with getting really deep dive for 2 of them. One was Time Clock Plus, and the other was the replacement for Kronos. It's called School Ready. And we had, I think, 3 demonstrations with each of the vendors. So we took a deep dive. So we had meetings, Time Clock Plus, they actually flew out and they presented for us. From Texas, I think they flew in. Kronos did a lot deep dives, via Zoom, but we had a lot of chance to ask questions and make sure that everything was going to go smoothly with whatever we picked. We had identified a couple pain points. We are still using paper and pencil in some areas. It's a little bit dicey when we do scheduling, especially for bus drivers. So bus drivers don't meet, I work 8 to 4:30. So the bus drivers, their schedules, some of those drivers are doing 3 runs in a day. And this software that we're currently on just doesn't handle that. So we knew that we wanted something that would handle the complexities of, some of our positions. Workflows is also kind of an issue that we have with our current product. In other words, if I ask for time off, my time off goes to Sean. That's no big deal. We're kind of a one-to-one. But the bus drivers, if somebody, and Kelly, he lives this as well. So as far as a workflow for an approval for a day off, you only got one shot. So you can't split it among different people. So Craig Bramble, he takes care of for Kelly's group. But it would be nice if Kelly got it and Craig got it, and we just couldn't split it with this current one.
And we have some people that work for both transportation
Yes,
and nutritional services.
and nutritional
So
services.
if they put in for time off, one supervisor would see it, but the other one
Yes.
wouldn't know that.
So it gets a little bit dicey, and that's where we have to do, some of this manual work. And it's time consuming, especially for the HR department. And I'm not gonna lie, there's a lot of manual work right now. And then that integration between our current timekeeping system and eFinance Plus is manual. So we were looking to automate that. So they were our pain points. That's what we were going after. So we found that Chronos School Ready, it did a lot of what we were looking for as well. Time Clock Plus, one of the big things that we're seeing with Time Clock Plus is it's got an API integration with eFinance Plus, meaning that it's going to talk back and forth between the two systems. So we don't have to wait, until the payroll specialist Karen has time to, do an import, and then the HR Allison has time to go in and, hit 8 to 10 screens to get them set up. So we should be able to save some man hours with this as well. They're also talking about the ability to work with TransFinder, which is the bus system that we're going to be going to. So we thought that was definitely a great something that we can look forward to. That's not quite there yet, but they're saying that they're working with them. And the whole mobile application just kind of brings us up to date. Chronos, like I said, we've been on that since 2013, and probably prior to that, that's when I came with the district. So it's kind of antiquated, and that's why they're going end of life with it. So
With the future ability, what will we have to do before it's available? Is it more paperwork, or is this?
So as far as getting this system up and running, you mean?
Do we have TransFinder now?
No, we do not have
What you think?
TransFinder right now. So TransFinder is coming down the pike because of what the bus alert.
Yes.
Bus alert, it kind of is coming with it. So TransFinder is coming.
But
They're
you're
just not there yet.
guaranteed that.
Correct.
Does Chronos have that ability?
No, they do not. No,
Okay,
they do not. Oops, that's that. So as we said, as we had an evaluation team, we just are recommending that we move forward with Time Clock Plus. Time Clock Plus is a Power School partner. Power School runs the world, right? So they are a partner of Power School. So the contract will actually be with Power School, but the support and the implementation will go through this company called Time Clock Plus. They're estimating 120 days if we can, if this is approved at the end of the month here. They're saying, we'll begin the project sometime in October. So they're saying 120 days. I'm going to say, so that's 4 months. I'm going to say it's going to be closer to 6 months because we're going to have the holidays in there. And, it's very dependent on, HR being available to do their homework and the business office being available to do their homework. So we got a lot of players to bring together. So, and this is a biggie because this solution is utilized by every employee in the district because everybody takes time off at one time or another. So we're gonna,
And they want paid.
and they want to be paid. So this solution, we're gonna have to, we have a tentative implementation schedule on how it's going to get rolled out. As I said at the beginning of, my little spiel here, we want to be live no later than July 1st, 2024, but hopefully we can go live a little earlier than that. But that's going to be dependent on testing, training, and what our rollout strategy is going to be.
So how would a person take a day off then this new system has? Is it screen on a
So you-
computer or?
So you can either do it web-based or there's an app. And we currently have an app. And honestly, like most of the bus drivers, the custodians, the staff that doesn't have a computer assigned to them,
Yeah, right.
they do it all on their phone.
That's fine.
They can actually do it at the clock too. I just don't think many people do it at the clock. It's a lot more cumbersome.
Yeah.
So this has a nice hefty app with it as well. So the pricing here, as I said, it doesn't come with, cheap for sure. So you can see the difference between Chronos and Time Clock Plus and what the variances are. It does cost more to get Time Clock Plus up and running than for Chronos, but as you go down year 2 and 3, you can see there's a 4% uplift each year for both companies. But the year-to-year is a little bit cheaper for Power School Time Clock Plus than for Chronos UKG.
And
this
how
one
about-
for 3 year.
Ready.
Yeah, how about
It's
after-
3 years.
How about after that?
I'm assuming it's gonna be that 4% lift. That's currently what we,
I mean, because you want to keep this for 20 years, right?
yes,
So
we do. Because this one's gonna be a biggie.
If they, do they have the ability to up the price too much, or is that part of it? Because we need to look more than 3 years out.
So we do need to look more than 3 years out, but we do have contracts with Power School now, like we have a lot of different contracts, and it's typically 4% or less. So we're actually going a little bit high here, it's typically 4 or less.
But that'll be stated in the contract.
Correct,
Okay.
correct. Well, for the 3-year term,
Right.
so, yeah.
Well, we just need to investigate.
And we
I
can
mean,
check
that's-
that out. I know, you don't want to have like a
Is this
10%
system-
increase.
Could someone else take this system over, or is this all proprietary too?
This is proprietary, everything's proprietary,
Pretty
yeah.
We talked about this a little bit previously, but the current system we have will continue, so we'll be paying for
Correct.
2 systems just to have that runway of transition.
Correct.
But what is the budget that we have for right now for 2023, 2024 with regard to our Chronos system right now? Do we know?
We have Cronus budgeted for 23-24,
How much
knowing that we have the 80, what is it?
It's $58,452.01.
Yeah.
So this
Chronos
addition,
right
this
now.
133 is truly additional, it's not part of it?
Correct,
It's
We
not-
planned for that in this year's
Oh,
budget.
you did?
We're good.
Okay.
correct. And they're going to allow us to pay it in installments. So I think the first installment is like November, like, they're gonna spread it out over 3 different payments for us. So. Any questions on that?
How many people clock in and out per day, just approximately? What percentage,
Sure.
or?
How many are hourly that clock in and out? So it's the bus drivers, it's the custodians,
400 or 500.
Yeah,
Other
right?
assistants that are hourly too.
yeah, the TAs,
We have-
correct.
We have
Yeah,
roughly 600 salary folks. We have teachers, administrators, then pretty much everybody else is.
and everybody else is hourly.
So we're talking
Yeah,
at least
400 or
400 or
500.
500.
Is it one clock per building or more than one?
Some buildings we have more than one.
Oh, that's a lot of people.
But like they do that on their phone as well.
So
it's
we
not-
don't allow them to do it on their phone
Okay.
because there are some issues with them doing it on their phone. So that's something, they have geofencing now that we hadn't like looked into too much, but, so that's gonna be up to really HR if they
Okay.
wanna go there, where you can clock in on your phone.
It's
Because you-
geofencing.
Geofencing, so you
Geolocation.
can't be home and do it, right?
Well, that's-
So because
yeah.
you're supposed to be here
Show your
when you're
location.
clocking in.
Show your
Yeah.
location.
GPS, yeah.
So yes, unfortunately, yes.
Sounds
So,
good.
any other questions there?
No, it sounds good.
Okay. Great.
Typical IT stuff, it's all good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Could we just go back a little bit on the, because it just came up, and maybe Dr. Barczyk, you could look into this too, but I know before we talked about some of these programs that are student funded, and knowing that not all of our students have the ability to fund that, are the schools that are running that, do they always have an option for some sort of scholarshiping, or if they don't have the funds, can they make an appeal to someone so that, you know, whether that would be through a foundation or something, that we could try to make sure that people have the same opportunities? Because I know we mentioned that before with Dr. Bolton about, you know, when we talk about systemic inequities or something, a big part is finances. and knowing that, about 30% of our students are on lunch support, and it'd probably be more than that if other people acknowledged it. And so they may not have the funds to do the bounce house, or funds to go to New York City with $100 per student, or whatever it would be. So if somebody could just look into that as to what the scholarshiping or the means of trying to support, so that all kids have the same opportunity, knowing that that's student funded and not school funded.
Okay.
But I'm assuming the foundation, is it still a viable entity, or did we close that down?
PCEF, I don't know.
Which,
Parish
So
group,
currently, we do have the
501c3.
donation that you approved in the, I guess it was in the spring, when PCF was gonna turn over to their funds of the $13,000. That will still be grant oriented, all those funds, and then eventually starting up, whether in the district or however we're going to do that once we get everything in place. But we also seek out opportunities through the guidance counselors. They're really the main source that we send parents and students to in regards to getting funding for anything they may need. You know, part of our Title I funds is for homeless students, and we do have funding through our Title I funds. We have to do a certain percentage of those funds. It's not a lot, but it's something. But I would say the main source would be going through the guidance counselors at the school when there is a hardship of any kind. And then we work it out one way or the other.
Sure.
And there's also one student activity club in the high school, I think it's called the Sunshine Club. That's all they do. They raise money in order to give away to kids that need it for something like you just said.
That'd be great to promote that too, because I think that's a neat opportunity for the community to get involved as well. I know we have somebody that every year pays for the student lunch bill that's.
Yes,
We
we have.
get here, somebody
Right.
always
Yeah.
makes a
But this was
non-abstention.
another opportunity for community members to maybe help students that could not have otherwise afford that.
And generally, that's why at the elementary level, our PTAs and HSAs pay for field trips and those type of things. We normally cover that at the elementary level, just through the funds that are raised at the schools.
But the status of the 501c3 is what? Has it been discontinued? Is it closed? Is it still viable?
On the PCEF
Yeah.
piece, that's a good question. I don't know that question.
Best of our knowledge right now is that it has not been closed. They have started to close accounts, and they want to make sure that.
I would make a recommendation to this group and the finance committee that we seriously do not close down the
Yeah, it's hard to get one
501c3.
of those.
That would be a major mistake for us.
You receive
I've
it.
run nonprofits my whole career. Once you lose your 503 status, trying to gain it back again in today's marketplace, virtually impossible. I think we keep it open and we have some possibilities. We might be able to turn some funds from the community to the 50c3. What it does is, you, the entity providing monies to the 501c3, you get tax deductions for that. Critical in certain aspects, and
why would we close it? Why would-
Administratively, it was going to get rolled into the school.
But then
Right.
Which
loses
didn't make a lot of
status.
sense, so I'm not
And
sure.
I've, again, being proactive, I've looked at other nonprofits in the area, and I think I've found a fairly decent way in which we might be able to have the 501c3 one through another agency on behalf of the school district. So I'm pursuing that, but I would not want to see us lose the status of that 501c3. That would be a major mistake.
That 501c3 is not ours, it's not the school district's.
Right. I understand.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Student activity counts.
Oh, yes,
Mr.
one
Doe.
student activity count to get their paperwork in order for the year, the Future Business Leaders Club. They have a renewal and carryover request for 23-24 school year.
All right. Next Finance Committee meeting is scheduled for October 10th, 2023. Any public comments? Was there any?
We have none.
We have none? All right. With